Hey, welcome back to Yev's Builds. We got some good reviews from the previous video, and that's awesome. Thank you. The motor's not gone. It's here. It's right here. We got all the parts to put it back together. We're moving on. We're moving on with the project. We're gonna be replacing this crankshaft, timing chains. We're gonna be checking rod bearing clearance. We're gonna hone the motor. We're gonna clean out cylinder oil jets. So stay tuned. I'll start measuring out these clearances and I'll show you how that's done. So the reason why this motor's taking so long to get put back together, I'm calling out names right now, okay? BE Bearings really screwed me over. It took him 9 months to make my order for the rod bearings, only later for FedEx to lose my package. I hit him up again. I was like, yo, BE, listen up. This was going on. FedEx lost my package. They told me I'm gonna have to wait another 9 to 10 months for my order to get processed. Whack. So I hit up Hack Engineering. They hooked me up with ACL bearings. We're gonna be using ACL bearings, standard size. Standard should be fine because I already checked a couple and they should be good. Hack Engineering claims that through the years of them putting these rod bearings into, their customers' motors, that they work great. They've never had a single issue, so might as well. And they're half the price of a BE bearing. I think it's a win-win, dude. Let's do it. Before I swap in this new crankshaft into this motor, I figured I would check all the clearances because it was polished, just to make sure, because I don't want to do all this labor to put the new crankshaft in only to realize that I need some oversized bearings or something, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to be doing first. We're going to be checking the clearances and then we're going to move on. So now we're going to be test fitting the clearance on the rod bearings with plastic gauge. Clean out the surface, make sure there's absolutely no lubricant, it's dry. There's going to be a little notch on the rod itself. The rod bearing is going to have a corresponding notch as well. You put the notch inside the notch, just that side first. You kind of hold it and you push this side in, push it more towards the middle so it wouldn't scratch too much. And that's pretty much it for this. The opposite end of the rod itself is going to have the exact same thing. Put the notch inside the notch, hold it, push it towards the middle. Boom, that is done. Since we're only test fitting the clearance, we're not going to lubricate this portion, but we are going to keep in mind that we can't scratch the surface of the crankshaft. So you rip off a piece of this plastic gauge, you go to your crankshaft, you put the rod on where it's going to be sitting, make sure it's still. You do not want this to move, otherwise it's going to smear the plastic gauge. Make sure you use the correct cap for the rod itself because they are made specifically to themselves. They're forged and then they're broken in half. Put this piece of plastic gauge right in the center, because that's where an even surface is going to be. You put the cap on, and in this case, since we're just test fitting, you're going to use the original bolts. You do not want to use the new ones because they're supposed to be torqued to spec and they're supposed to be stretched out to spec. BMW recommends taking 6 Newton meters. It's a seating torque. You tighten both sides to 6 Newton meters. Then you switch it over to 20 Newton meters. Tighten both sides again, evenly. Hear that snap. There you go. Torque it another 130 degrees. You can pick up this little tool, you can get it anywhere, any parts store, put the socket on it, and this little piece acts as a little stopper so that when you rotate the wrench, this stays in the same spot, and that's how you get your degree measurements. We'll adjust it so that it hits a surface. There you go. Find a good seating position. Make sure it's at 0, and you hit it till it hits 130. Right there. Top bolt is done. You zeroed it out again. Boom. Then you let go. If you can, try to make sure that the rod doesn't actually move around. You want as less play as possible so it doesn't smear the plastic gauge. You carefully remove that, and that's our smeared piece that we're gonna have to measure out right now. The correct clearance for these, for the rod bearings, is a maximum of 0.025 millimeters and minimum of 0.070 millimeters. So you take your little measuring tool for the plastic gauge that came with it. If you look at that, the top number is 0.025, right? That's our absolute maximum. Obviously, this is not 100% precise, but it's definitely between 0.025, which means it's less than 0.025 and definitely more than 0.070. This rod bearing is in the clear, as well as all of them. They're all in the clear. They're all good. We flipped the block upside down. It's on wood. It's on a couple 2x4s. Not damaged at all. Don't worry. We're gonna be removing the crankcase, which is pretty simple. These guys are an E14 socket. These guys are regular 13 mil. These little guys, there's a bunch of them all around the side. These are T45s. And then there's gonna be a few little T30s. Let's get this crankshaft out of here. Let's do it. All right, and I'm gonna stop the time lapse right here just because I want to organize all those bolts before I pop this crankcase off. I'm not entirely sure if you can swap out bolts left and right. So what I did, I took a little cardboard and I'm still gonna mark it. This is the front of the motor, this is the back of the motor, this is the back of the motor, as well as that is the front of the motor. And I put all the bolts in their corresponding order so that when I am gonna be putting them back, I do know that you are reusing all these bolts when you're replacing the crankshaft. Let's take this crankcase off, baby. Have you seen this in any video before, huh? Woo! Nice. All these main bearings we're gonna replace. And this old crankshaft can go eat dust, bro. This is garbage, dude. This is garbage. These chains are garbage. This crankshaft is garbage. This seal right here, we're gonna have to remove it. So yeah, we're gonna be resealing this whole block with the crankshaft later. For now, I'm gonna take a break. As you can see, the motor is pretty filthy. I want to get rid of all this stuff, all this gunk, all the excess of oil in order for me to hone the motor. I'm gonna go wash it, use some gas and a little brush or something. Don't scrub anything, just lightly tap it. Here it is. The block is completely clean. You can eat off of this. It's beautiful. It's looking real nice and pretty. Here's the crankcase, also cleaned up. A little trick that I've used. Take a little razor like this. This is just a holder. It's a regular standard razor. I don't know if these surfaces can be machined. I'm assuming not, since the clearance on the crankshaft needs to be very specific. I just took this and very gently, pretty much you lay down the razor onto the surface and you push it back and forth. You don't push down on it at all. You just push left and right. And it removes the majority of the gunk. Remember, there's no gasket in between the crankcase and the block. This razor works pretty well. It's nice. It got it done pretty well. It's pretty smooth. I took this little pick, and be careful not to scratch this, but just kind of, again, same motion as I did with the razor. Don't push down, just push left and right. Let the gravity control the weight and the pressure of this. But you just kind of pick at it like that. Slowly over time, you'll get the entire seal off. And that's that. After you remove all the seal, all the old seals, should look something like that. And it's pretty simple. It's not too difficult, it just takes a little bit of time. Remove the oil jets, cleaned them up a tad, blew some air through them. Should be good. Now let's move on to the head side of the block and clean it the same way we did with this crankcase with that razor, same method. Let's go, dude. Look how clean it is. You could eat off of this, dude. Very nice. After both heads are like that, after they're all cleaned up and there's no scuffs and they're smooth to the touch, dude, put your plate and start eating off of it, man. For real, dude. But yeah, you air dry, you vacuum everything out just to keep your area clean. It's just better to work that way. It's better for honing because that's what we're gonna be doing next, dude.